Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. Iraqi special forces enter the center of Fallujah city, taking over a government complex and a neighborhood that served as a base for Daesh militants after intense fighting. An aid convoy reached besieged Al-Wa'ir suburb of the Syrian city of Hims as more barrel bombs and fight rage in Aleppo. And a second flight recorder has been retrieved from the crashed EgyptAir flight containing data from aircraft systems. Live from the news center of the Sultanate of Oman television, this is 8:30 News Bulletin. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President James Alex Mitchell of Seychelles on his country's National Day. Iraqi special forces entered the center of the Fallujah city early today, taking over a government complex and a neighborhood that served as a base for Daesh group militants after intense fighting. Troops are now besieging the nearby central hospital, clashing with Daesh snipers in adjacent buildings. According to intelligence, Daesh has set up a command center on the hospital's third floor. Reports say Daesh militants collapsed, suggesting that most of them fled after the Iraqi forces moved in on a Nazal neighborhood. Iraqi special forces believe militants are hiding in areas nearby, and the search for them was continuing. Aid groups estimate that 50,000 civilians remain trapped inside Fallujah, which has been under Daesh control for over 2 years. It is the last major city in western Iraq to be held by the extremist group. An aid convoy carrying food, medical supplies and other emergency supplies for 37,500 people has reached Al-Wa'ir, a besieged suburb of the Syrian city of Hims today. A second convoy to supply the rest of the estimated 75,000 people in Al-Wa'ir is planned in the next few days. A separate convoy to Afrin in northern Aleppo had also gone ahead. Meanwhile, Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said there were more barrel bombs in rebel areas of Aleppo. At least 4 civilians were killed in the fresh violence, 3 on the eastern side of Aleppo and 1 in the west. That came hours after U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry warned Moscow that Washington patience was running out over breaches of the nationwide ceasefire. A Russian serviceman has died after his convoy in Syria was attacked in the province of Aleppo. The Russian Defense Ministry told local media today, saying he was the 10th Russian soldier to lose his life in Moscow's campaign in Syria. A second flight recorder has been retrieved from the crashed EgyptAir flight MS-804 containing data from aircraft systems which could shed light on what brought the plane down last month. An Egyptian committee investigating the crash into the eastern Mediterranean Sea made the announcement a day after search teams found the cockpit voice recorder in a breakthrough for investigators seeking to explain what caused the plane to go down. The Airbus A320 crashed early on May 19th on its way from Paris to Cairo, killing all 66 people on board. The 2 black box recorders are crucial for the investigation, as the Egyptian Investigation Committee said preparations were underway to transfer the 2 flight recorders to Alexandria, where they will be received by an official from the General Prosecutor's Office and investigators. A suicide car bomber hit a Libyan police station, killing 11 people and wounding 7. Officials said the attack at Abu Ghraib, west of Sirte, showed the militants, although on the back foot in the battle for Sirte, can still strike outside the city. Brigades from Misrata are leading the campaign to recapture Sirte and have engaged in the fights with Daesh since pushing to the edge of the city center last week. A spokesman for the brigades said yesterday's casualties was believed to include civilians as well as policemen. Earlier yesterday, the brigade's media office said 2 other car bombs had been destroyed in Sirte before they could be used. The brigades, which are aligned with the Libya's United Nations-backed unity government, says they have Daesh pinned back to an area about 5 kilometers in Sirte's city center. Go. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and still to come in our news bulletin. Cocoa production is a key source of income for many smallholder farmers in Ivory Coast.
تابعون عبر أثير إذاعة الشباب في شهر رمضان. سالفة قصيدة، سر السر، نفسي مطمئنة، أفكار وطموح الجزء الثاني، البرنامج التاريخي الغرر الحسان، بهجة النفس، هكذا أجمل.
إذاعة الشباب، رمضان فيه الخير ينساب.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Oman oil price August delivery reached $44.70. Dubai Mercantile Exchange DME said that the price of Oman oil declined 41 cents from the price of yesterday, which was $45.11. The average price of Oman oil June delivery 2016 has reached $39.40, that's $3.06 per barrel, higher than May delivery 2016. The trading value of Muscat Securities market MSM witnessed a decline by 44% compared to the last session during this week. The investors traded around 11 million Omani riyals. The market value of MSM decreased by 0.5% to reach 17.13 billion Omani riyals. The shares of Bank Muscat Omani Telecommunications, HSBC Bank and Gulfar Engineering and Contracting came in the list of most active companies in terms of value. Meanwhile, the value of shares sold by foreign investors reached 15% and their purchase value reached 7%. Injazz Oman is a non-profit company that helps juniors and college students to promote their projects. The fourth two-day exhibition of Injazz Oman, held in cooperation with the Shangri-La Bar Ajassa Resort and Spa, Saif bin Khalfan Al-Kindi, visited the exhibition and came with the following report.
Many pioneering projects and innovative ideas displayed at the fourth exhibition of Injazz Oman in collaboration with Al-Ata Charity Association and Shangri-La Bar Al-Jassa Resort and Spa in an initiative called Hand in Hand. Dirk Satellist, the registration manager, talked about Hand in Hand initiative activities. He said,
Hand in Hand is one important pillar throughout the year, and especially during the holy months of Ramadan. We are very proud to host this event and being successful doing it for the fourth time.
I'm very proud of the Omani students from Injazz Oman. Great inventions and fantastic ideas. That's all what I have to say.
Ola Aulad Thani, the human resources head in 360 company established by a group of students, talked about the idea of their company that works on reducing the cost of construction. She said,
Our company works in the construction field, which is improving the construction field by reducing the cost, improving the material, and reducing the risks on workers. So as our workers build a 3D printer that will build structural elements with different materials.
On the other hand, another group of students developed the body system, which is a medical checkup system that helps patients to follow up their health. Faisal Al-Dawyani talked about the system. He pointed out,
we have come up with an idea to have a complete health system. So we are trying to attract people who are suffering from serious disease and they really need a special care from the hospitals. So we have come up with a complete system. It's about a watch that reads the biomarks of the user and then it sends it to a website that is being used in hospitals and companies to follow up with these patients and keep care on them.
Al-Mujahid Al-Abri, the production manager of Al-Balil company, described the clay cooling system that can be used in deserts or taken for camping purposes. He pointed out,
we decided to improve this crude and melt to have watery columns using as a cooling media. We fill it by the water, then the principles of thermodynamic, the evaporatives come from the back and go inside the cooler. There is a vibrations of cooling which are going to the hot vapor to rise and then still the cold vapor which we need it actually.
Mark Kirk, the area general manager in Shangri-La Bar Al Jassa Resort, liked the idea of the clay cooling system that was established by a group of students from Sohar Applied Sciences College. He said,
every year it gets better and better. Today there's some great ideas taking traditional Omani practices and then bringing them into the modern world. There's a cooling device that's using some clay with some water. There's like a portable air conditioning unit. Fantastic ideas.
On the other hand, Ahmed Saleh Ashandoudi and his team developed an organic fertilizer for flora and botanic purposes.
Our main product is organic liquid fertilizer. This liquid fertilizer has all the nutrients that the plant need. It can easily uptake, the root of plant can easily uptake.
The next exhibition of Injazz will be inaugurated in few days at the Avenues and will include new ideas and productions created by Omani students from different colleges. Injazz Oman in its fourth version came out with new products and new ideas created by innovative Omani students. In its fourth version, students are waiting for support by the private sector. Saif Al-Kindi for English News, Bar Al Jassa, Muscat.
The Eurozone's Financial Crisis Resolution Authority has authorized the payment of 7.5 billion euros in bailout funds for Greece, part of total of 10.2 billion euros it approved for the struggling country over the next few months. The Eurozone's European Stability Mechanism said today it approved the disbursement after Greece's government completed requirement reforms and that the country would use the funds to service its debt and help clear domestic areas. Greece will be eligible to receive the remaining 2.8 billion euros after it passes further reforms after by the country's creditors. This is Greece's third bailout in the past 6 years. The country has been dependent on international rescue loans since 2010, when its economy collapsed after years of mismanagement and overspending. A civilian light plane crashed in southern South Korea today, killing all 3 people on board. An official at the Ministry of Public Safety and Security said that the plane went down in a farming field in Muan, about 390 kilometers south of Seoul. The cause of the incident was not immediately known, but that the plane was believed to have been on a training flight. 3 men were aboard the 4-seat plane before it crashed less than an hour after it took off from Muan Airport. The dead are 32-year-old flight instructor and 2 trainees, both aged 31. There are no reports of casualties on the ground. A small band of conservationists are trying to save the Philippine eagle after decades of reforested destruction and hunting have decimated the population of the majestic bird. More details in the following report.
A magical moment as one of the world's rarest birds hatches. The Philippine eagle is close to extinction, and this small conservation centre in the south of the country is trying to ensure its survival. 27 eagles have been born at the sanctuary over the past 3 decades.
The centre serves as basically an insurance or a Noah's Ark, so to speak, for the species. But it certainly doesn't, it cannot substitute for populations in the wild.
One of the biggest and most powerful birds in the world, it needs a vast area of forest to survive. Logging and other activities have destroyed those tropical rainforests at a startling rate in recent decades, and now experts say there are just hundreds of eagles left in the wild. The Conservation Centre is teaching the next generation to save what remains.
Just don't destroy the habitat of eagle, and don't destroy their forests, because forests are important to eagle, because eagle are animals and other animals.
Hunting is another major threat, with eagles shot for encroaching on communities, for food or by mistake. Some that survive are rehabilitated and released back into the wild. Others, unable to fly, are left with a life of entertaining tourists.
They tend to travel across open landscapes to move between forests, and that's how they come in contact with people and get shot at. We found through our research that many of these birds are getting shot. In fact, nearly 90% of them die before they even reach adulthood.
The first bird born at the sanctuary was named Pagasa, which means hope. But without an end to logging and poaching, there appears little left for one of the Philippines' great treasures.
Cocoa production is a key source of income for many smallholder farmers in Ivory Coast who plant on average 1 to 3 hectares. But production has slumped over the 3 years as a result of poor yields blamed on extreme weather. Weak global prices and low quality cocoa farmers are now trying to turn the tide by planting varieties that are hardier and faster maturing, those grown since cocoa was introduced to Africa centuries ago. Ivorian researchers released a quick-growing, more resilient variety 5 years ago. The farmers switched to the aptly named Cocoa Mercedes. They are now selling more and better quality beans, boosting their income. Ivory Coast, which produced over 1.8 million tons of cocoa beans in 2015, is the world's largest producer and exporter of cocoa, contributing around 45% of global production. The World Cocoa Foundation says cocoa produced by over 5 million smallholders farmers around the world supports the livelihoods of more than 50 million people. And with that story from Ivory Coast, here are the Ramadan times for tomorrow. Fajr prayers at 3:53 a.m., Maghrib prayers at 7:01 p.m. And now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Clear, partly cloudy skies will prevail over the coastal areas of the Governorate of Dhofar and its nearby mountains, with chances of intermittent drizzle on the mountains. The rest of the Sultanate will have clear skies with clouds and scattered rainfall over the Hajar Mountains. Winds will be southerly to southeasterly, moderate to active over the coastal areas of Arabian Sea, while it will be northeasterly light to moderate over the coastal areas of Sea of Oman. Rest of the Governorates, it will be southeasterly to easterly light to moderate. Seas will be slight to moderate along the coastal areas of Sea of Oman and Musandam, with a maximum wave height of 1.5 meters, while along the coastal areas of the Arabian Sea, it will be rough with a maximum wave height of 3.5 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Iraqi special forces enter the center of Fallujah city, taking over a government complex and a neighborhood that served as a base for Daesh militants after intense fighting. An aid convoy reached the besieged Al-Wa'ir suburb of the Syrian city of Hims as more barrel bombs and fight rage in Aleppo. And a second flight recorder has been retrieved from the crashed EgyptAir flight containing data from aircraft systems. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin. From the entire news team here in the studio and the newsroom, we thank you for joining us and good night.